Here we are again. I'm so excited today to be with Gena Bradshaw. Jen and I met a few months ago, and following her story, her book, her podcast, and her experiences for people that are looking to live a fuller life is really incredible. And I have to share, this podcast is very personal in the sense that so many people I know in different aspects of their life experience medical challenges, many of which have been cancer. So, talking to Gena today about how she took a holistic approach to cancer is something that I think can benefit so many. So, Gena, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, before we jump into that, I'd love to just start with what is holistic healing?
Holistic healing is tapping into the wholeness, that which is you. We are whole. We get distracted by different illusions here in like the 3D realm, and knowing that we everything is interconnected, our emotions, our mental, our physical, our spiritual, our energetic, and most importantly, energy ties all of that together. And so when we look at a quote unquote holistic healing approach, it's looking at the
Mm.
whole, it's looking at the whole body, it's looking at your whole energy system. And it's a really important aspect of life. And so many people are, they're waking up now but uneducated in a sense that it is actually a legitimate practice that you can utilize as, and by the way, holistic healing, it's like an umbrella. There are so many different tools and modalities that streamline under this umbrella of like, so you have like holistic healing, and then on top of that you have wellness. So it's like this segment of wellness that gives people hope, honestly, to look in more of a metaphysical approach to healing your body of whatever the ailment is.
And obviously, that's not how we go about the healthcare system today. So we could talk about that for hours, right? I have such a, I don't know, love hate. I love it when I need it, but I realize that there's so many gaps in our healthcare system, and a lot of it is driven by how people are, the coverage and the insurance. So, how did holistic health find you?
Yeah. Well, through my own journey, and you're right, it did find me. So my journey started at 3.5 years old. I was diagnosed with leukemia, which is a form of blood cancer. And I have some theories on that that I write about in my book, which is a whole other topic of discussion. But um, I grew up in a very holistic, nurturing family. I'm the oldest of five. My parents have been together for 33 years now. And with that healthy environment, I believe it helped me thrive and helped me get to this point of where I'm at today. And so I unfortunately was one of the, I was a statistic actually. In 1995, the treatment for chemotherapy and for children, pediatric cancer, was a whole different ball game. I literally was getting chemotherapy enough to kill a horse, at such a, just a tiny body. And, a lot of the kids didn't make it. Those who did were those who ended up with some type of disability. Uh,
Mm.
And then I fell into the category and statistic of developing another form of cancer down the road. And so I had a great childhood. However, the body always keeps the score. And I literally did not know what I know today. My family, we have a family fitness business. And, that's what I started out in: fitness, nutrition, playing outside in the dirt. And so later on down the road, I ended up going to school for exercise science and collegiately running track and field. And it was such a great experience. However, during that time frame, adversity struck. I was 20 years old and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which at the time we did not know that it was cancerous while I was going through the process. And so that moment woke me up on more of a shallow kind of level, like a surface level of a spiritual awakening. And that
Mhm.
prompted me to learn about, like, okay, I'm exercising, I'm eating healthy, I have good relationships, like I'm happy. I don't understand what's going on. How could I be diagnosed with cancer again? And that's where I took a deep dive into like you know, um herbalism and apothecary lifestyle, eastern medicine, and then I came across energy medicine and I was like, what's this? What's reiki? What's all this happening here? And then, I mean, you and I both know that's a whole other education system right there that like we just aren't taught. And I started to develop some abilities that I didn't know that I had, which was pretty cool. I've always been very intuitive. My mom, like the women in my family are very intuitive. Everyone has intuition. It's just the level at which you decide to, open up, or if at all, really. And so I was always like into, the witchy, spiritual, like, oh, what are the chakra systems? I love yoga. And yoga, actually, I will say this, yoga in college is what did open that door up for me, even before the adversity with my thyroid. That I was like, there's something to this. Okay, cool. Breath work, all the things. And so that took me on my journey. And I would say about like I'm going to be 31 at the end of this of June. And I would say like mid 20s is when I really started to be like, okay, like I need to like wake up here before like I just knew that it would make me sick if I continued on in the direction that I had been going.
So great. And I just really appreciate, like, Jenny Rice was on a couple months ago, and she does a lot of online courses and stuff. And she says that your messes are your message.
Mm,
And I feel like there's no accident that you were brought into your family the way that, may or may not. A lot of families aren't really holistically connected. And the fact that you were sick and that your family had a holistic approach to just living, as you can see, it didn't, maybe not the same for all the other kids that you might have experienced when you were in that part of your life. But I don't think there are any accidents. Like, you were born in that family for the work that you're doing now.
Not at all. And I have full body chills as you say that. I firmly also believe that we choose
Yeah.
our families for like our soul journey and our lessons. And, that also you take note and you're like, okay, what is my soul really here to do? Like I look back at when I was my most I've always been a happy person, but I would say internally, there was like turmoil, a lot of anger, and I was like, I gotta change something. Like this is not working for me. And I will also say that when I was going through thyroid cancer, I always like to talk about patient advocacy as well. There was two doctors that I saw. The first doctor said, okay, we don't know if this is cancerous, but we're going to take the whole thyroid out. You're going to do radioactive iodine, and then you're going to take medication for the rest of your life. This is where my intuition came in. My entire body cringed and curled up. And I literally, like, without even thinking, I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. And he was like, okay, well, that's my protocol. Who else are you going to see? I told him I was going to see this other doctor. And he was like, oh, I studied under him. I was like, okay, well, there's my answer. And so I saw this other doctor, a totally different ball game, older gentleman. He grew up in a different country, and so this is where his I was able at 20 years old to notice that he had a holistic approach, an Eastern medicine approach to the way that he does his practice in Western medical field. And I was like, okay, like I understand his energy unknowingly. This is totally unconscious, by the way. And he said, we're going to take out half. It's encapsulated. It was a 4.3 centimeter nodule. And, you know, no radioactive iodine, no medication if you take care of yourself. I was like, that's a win for me. And it's been 11 years I have half of a thyroid. And by the way, you can function on 1/3 of your thyroid if you take care of yourself and no medication. So that's where I'm at.
I love that. So when do you think your intuition kicked in? Was it part of your medical process, or
I
do you
think
think it
so.
kicked in elsewhere? Mm.
I think so, but I also I also say this. I had an experience when I was 8 years old when I was like in a play I was in my playroom, like just by myself, and okay, I was rattling something, and with sound it clears energy, it clears stagnation. Sound is amazing, we know this. And so I started rattling it, and I had to block this out of my memory because I was so scared. The rattle stopped. It was almost like there was a wall here and the rattle wouldn't continue to move. And I was like, I was so scared. And I like blocked it out of my mind. I blocked it out of my memory, and it started to resurface um over these last couple of years. And I always think back to that time. I'm like, wow, I always had this. I just shut it off because I was scared of my own intuition. I was scared of my own power, if you think about it. And, dis-ease is stagnation of life force energy, of flow within the body. And, the trauma that I had gone through, and then kind of like just neglecting myself that had that ability, I think also played a role in me getting sick down the road a second time.
That's so powerful. I feel like so many of us, we're sort of taught in an early age to follow what other people tell us, especially in the medical industry. Like, do what your doctor says. Your doctor says this. They told you to take this medicine. So the fact when people are diagnosed with really challenging information, disease, cancer, I think it can be very scary. And I think people feel like they're running out of time. Like, I have to do this chemo right now because I just have to do it. And how do you think that the medical industry is shifting, or what do you think is on the horizon with this holistic health as a component of healing?
I'm definitely hopeful. I see it myself with the integration actually of integrative medicine within these medical facilities. So, for example, where I received my thyroid surgery, the thyroidectomy was at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Now, I will say this: you have to do your homework because they will not outwardly tell you these things, which is bothersome. And it used to make me angry, but at this point, knowledge is power. And um, obviously, to a point, you need to take action, but you need to do your own research, and you need, again, like get curious. Because if you have a doctor telling you you have 21 days to live and you're like, what? And then they know you're fearful, so you're in a vulnerable state, and then they're going to say you're going to do, this is my protocol, you're going to do this, and you're going to be on radiation for this long. And some people don't want to do that. Now, I will say the integration of the two, Western and Eastern, is beautiful. Sometimes we need both, but I also know people who have holistically healed themselves of cancer without medical intervention. So, the biggest key is listening to your intuition when you are speaking with doctors. Like, you are setting up your health team. Do your interviews, even if they're giving you, like, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Like, if someone's telling you that, they should not be on your medical team. They should not. I get it. To a point, you wanna be realistic, but you also don't want someone, Dr. Wayne Dyer says this, um, if you want to have a do not disturb sign up in your mind where no one's dirty feet are allowed to walk in your mind. And you don't want somebody's limiting beliefs kind of just getting stuck in your nervous system, in your thought process, in your mindset, in your energy field. I mean, that alone can make you sick. That fear that someone else is instilling within you, and now you're distrusting your body. That right there is a huge game changer. And with that, there was an integrative floor in Memorial Sloan Kettering. There still is. And I wasn't told during the healing process that I may be able to do acupuncture or there are some herbs that you can look up. And I did the research and I found the herbs that I actually talk about in my book, A Survivor Story, that was on the Memorial Sloan Kettering website. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, why wasn't I told any of this? You have to literally search and find it on your own. They're not going to tell you.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a coach, speaker, author, podcaster, for the holistic human performance, I'm sure you have sort of like the first 10 things you should do or something like that. Because I feel like when you get that call or somebody encourages someone else to talk to you, like, what do you tell people? Because I love the idea of following your intuition, getting your medical health team, but is there any herbs or anything that you encourage people to get started on to sort of just kickstart the process of awakening your body to this new way of living?
Absolutely. And again, all the things I'm saying, like, do your research, but this is the approach I took. These are the things that I learned and literally put them in my book because there was supporting research. So let's
Well,
just say
first, before you say, tell us the title of your book.
A Survivor Story, A Holistic Healing Journey Through Cancer. Paperback, ebook, Audible. I'm actually narrating it myself, which was like, so I had to do so much healing around that, by the way, before actually like narrating my own book. I digress. So with that, right, as I'm doing my own healing, so I would say first things first, let's just say if you get test results that are obviously not preferred, right? They're going to tell you immediately, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. In that moment, I want you to take a breath and I want you to know that cancer is not a death sentence. Look at where we're at with technology and science. You will be good. Is it going? The scariest part of that is obviously the fear attached to the actual name cancer and the change of lifestyle. Because think of it this way, when you have a goldfish that gets sick, the water, the environment is dirty. You need to clean out the water. You put the goldfish back into the water, and then the goldfish can thrive. So you must change your environment. I would say, first things first, get out a journal and just start to reevaluate. And we're not playing the blame game here. We're not going to say my cancer, it's not yours to have. It's just the diagnosis name, okay? Start to reassess what your life. Am I in a toxic relationship that's making me sick? Or, whatever that maybe with yourself, maybe with other people. What is my mental like? Am I positive? Am I always thinking negative and having those feedback loops like go, 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 right? What kind of food am I eating? Like the basics, like what food am I eating? Am I sedentary all day long, right? There's so much supporting research of movement, different types of food, aromatherapy, like set up your environment so that you can thrive. That was like the first thing for me that I did. And I know that even as a child, my parents like set up the environment. Like I wrote about in my book how I list out all of these different treatments that I was receiving. And my mom, right, the nurse would tell her, they were like, she cannot have any supplements, any vitamins. What do you think my mom did? She gave me supplements and vitamins. Obviously, you need, like, my mom is, she did her research and things like that. She probiotic and vitamin C, like, just super basic things. And I ate really good food. So those are simple things that you can do. And you have to take into consideration, and this is like a really tough one to swallow. The old self of you is going to die off. That old self cannot come with you. They need to heal, they need to die off, and you need to move into this pathway, this journey, with an open heart and an open mind. And listen, I hate to say it, but everything does happen for a reason, even if it is self inflicted and we do it to ourselves. You know what I mean? Um, but at the end of the day, knowing that cancer is not a death sentence and you got this. And something that I learned in shamanism that really gave me like this other perspective of it and disease in general, whenever we go through like a near death experience where like life is like right in front of your face and it flashes before you, you're being asked to go a different route. And so are those diseases, whatever adversity that you're suffering from, that is the medicine. There's always an energetic meaning to any type of, I mean, really everything. Everything is energy. So, cancer, for instance, is deep seated hurt, resentment, and anger. And think about it, right? Like, were you angry? I know as a teenager I was angry, but I didn't realize why. I had no idea why. It was all the trauma that I had gone through that I wasn't even aware to work on. But, that wasn't the time. That wasn't how it was supposed to go down. So, um, those would be some of the things that I would say to start off with.
That's amazing. And if someone's listening to this and their friend has cancer or they've been diagnosed, can you talk a little bit about how to reach out to you and how you can help them?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm all about support, right? I'm here as a coach, as a guide. I mix together the coaching and healing modalities together. And so I use a lot of, let's just say if you're in the New York area, I do a lot of sound healing, I do a lot of energy medicine and medical mediumship. Also virtual as well. But the best place to find me is my website. It is www.holistichumanperformance.co. And I have 15-minute discovery calls where we can chit chat about what's going on and where you're looking to go and what you need help with. And I'll steer you in the right direction. And then on Instagram, it's at Gena Bradshaw, GenaBshaw. And you can find all the goodies on there, YouTube, all the things. So.
Well, we will have all the links below so you can just click on it very easily. And, I think we're going to have you out at Waterwood because I think having some weekend sessions or even a day on cancer and how to support people and how to move through it with a holistic approach is so important because I feel like so many people are undereducated on how you can be supporting yourself and others that are going through this journey.
Absolutely. And again, like you said in the beginning, I chose this route. My soul chose this and I survived twice for a reason. And I can sit here confidently and tell you I've never felt better in my life. Like true sitting in my authenticity and thriving. And this is what I do. I help people thrive in their lives through this holistic approach, educating. How do we now integrate those small habits that stack up and make such a difference? You will look back at your old self and be like, wow, I've made such improvement. I'm so proud of myself.
Oh, well, I just really enjoy, Jenna, you joining us here today and sharing your journey, sharing your awakening, and sharing how you're using those gifts to help humans expand their experience here on Earth. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.